Good morning. I'm Janine Pointer. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer with the Lynn Institute. And I have with me today Steve Petty, who is our Executive Vice President at the Lynn Institute. And I have Dr. Chan Hellman. We are so pleased to have him with us. For those of you who don't know Chan, he is a professor in the Ann and Henry Zarrow School of Social Work, and he's the founding director of the Hope Research Center at the University of Oklahoma. He has written more than 150 scientific publications and presented numerous national and international conferences worldwide. His research is actually as a psychological strength, helping children and adults overcome trauma and adversity. That's one of the reasons we have him with us today, because certainly this is a time of trauma and adversity that we're all dealing with. Chan is a lifelong Oklahoman and lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma with his wife, Kendra, and they love what you do with their children and grandchildren. So we are pleased to have Chan with us today, and we wanted to because so many of you have questions about what's going on right now, and it relates in many instances to hope. So I'm going to start out with the first question because I think that's the one that basis for everything, and that is, what is hope? We say that word a lot, and we interchange it a lot of times with the word wish. So first, what is hope, and how is that different from a wish?
Great. Well, thank you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about hope and the science and power behind this important aspect of the human condition. So hope is the belief that our future will be better than today and that we have the power to make it. That's the definition that we use. It's important to understand that when we're talking about hope, that it is action. It is not a feeling, rather thought process. And the reason that's so important, I think, in our conversation especially, is because hope can be taught. So to break that down a little bit more, hope is comprised of three main tenets. First is hope is based upon that each of us set in our lives every day. They can be short-term goals, they can be long, but the critical aspects of hope is whether or not we have the ability to develop the pathways or the strategies by which to pursue our goals. How do we get there from here? And then the final, which is called agency. An easier way to think about it is willpower. And that is really the mental energy that we have to pursue our goals and to engage in those pathways. So hope is about goals, pathways, and willpower. So to differentiate it from a wish, and you're absolutely right, we use the word hope. I hope it doesn't rain. I hope you have a great day. And so hope is, again, about action to pursue your goals. Is passive. It is something that I desire. It is the willpower that I have towards my goals, but I don't have the way to get to achieve that goal. So I wish it wouldn't rain. I wish you would have a good day. So again, hope is about taking action to pursue.
Okay. So is the process different when we're living in a time of adversity and as the COVID-19 pandemic? And many people are overcoming. We have depression. We have people who are having things like losing jobs and being unprepared for something of this magnitude. And one of the things that I read in your book is you talk about this thing called a survival, where sometimes that's where you have to be rather than as much on the goals and the pathways and the willpower, or it looks different. And so, first of all, does it look different for what we're experiencing right now? And you can explain much better than I can about the survival window. And does that help people right now?
Sure. Yes, during times of trauma and adversity, like what we've been experiencing over the past several weeks, you'll notice that we have a normal reaction to to these events, and it starts with fear. It's emotional response, and it's a normal, natural reaction that we all have to adversity. The difficulty comes when we stay engaged in that fear, that we allow the emotions to drive our responses. And we saw that early on, where fear drives despair, and despair drives isolation. And you start to see desperate behaviors like hoarding and the things that took place early on. Hope is a solution focused coping strategy. So it's really more about identifying the goals and the barriers and then finding solutions to that. So we have to find ways to interrupt that fear-based response. And the way that we do that is we re-examine our goals. And during times of adversity, and we may want to begin to look at is how do we start focusing on more short-term goals. So it may be, what are our goals this week? What is our goal today? What is our goal in the next hour? And then to begin what we call stepping, which is thinking about the pathways to achieve that goal and saying, okay, if this week I'm going to connect with my social team, my research team, then I set that goal and I start stepping the short-term activities that I have to pursue in order to make that happen. So what happens in trauma and adversity is our goals become much stronger and better at 24 to 48 hours. Long-term goal setting in a time of uncertainty can be very difficult for us. When you talk about the survival window and other aspects about how trauma and adversity interferes with our capacity to hope, when we're experiencing tremendous adversity, there are times when we really just need to set with that. We can't, when somebody has experienced trauma or immediate adversity, we don't go to them, so like, okay, let's set goals, let's find our pathways. We need to have space and time for us to just set and oftentimes to really just disengage for a while. It can be quite healing, quite frankly. Last night I was, my granddaughter is with us, and as I was flipping through the channel, there was a story on with regard to COVID, and she made the comment that she's socially isolating, she's doing all these things, is it okay just to turn it off? And in that moment, she just wanted to disengage with this constant bombardment. And we all need those windows to just reset so that we can engage.
So I'm going to add on to this. So what you're saying is to pursue hope right now, smaller goals, daily goals, things that we can have some ability to create the pathway and actually have the willpower to achieve that, are going to infuse hope into our lives, into our being. And so is that, a job might be, for people who have lost a job, that's a big goal. So do they break that goal down? Like maybe today I'm going to work on my resume, and that's the goal for the day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so absolutely, those are some good strategies. So it might be that if I've lost my job, then my goal is how do I maintain sort of the basic needs for myself or my family. So, so for today or for this week, I'm going to contact the unemployment office.
Okay.
So I'm gonna break things down into the more immediate needs. What things do I need to do to get the ball rolling? It might be that I have to really sit down and re-examine my budget for this week. You're absolutely right. It may be that I bring out my resume, update it, and those strategies. So bringing things into the much shorter term and taking on actions that you actually have control over. This is part of what goes on when we get caught up in the fear and adversity, is there are so many things that are outside of our control. And we need to bring that into, okay, what are the things I can control today? And one of the key findings that we have in our research is based on this idea that hope begets hope. And that is, as I start to experience these short-term successes, like I set a goal for what I'm going to do today. And as I start to experience success in pursuing that goal, it creates that willpower or that energy that leads to the idea that I can pursue this future. This future is possible. And that's the essence of hope.
Awesome. Well, thank you for answering these questions. I know we have more. And so what we're going to do is be offering segments of this out for people to actually engage with on our social media channels and that kind of thing. So for those of you who are watching, look for more. In the meantime, I'm hoping that you can, this is probably backwards, but Chan has written a book. It's called Hope Rising. And you can find that on Amazon if you are interested. And I will tell you, even though he is in the academic world, this book is written for the person who just wants to sit down, hear stories of hope, read stories of hope, and hear how hope was implemented into everyday life situations and of adversity, of challenges, and definitely in cases of trauma. But Chan's book is a really easy read on hope and how to engage that in your life. And I can't recommend it enough. So thank you for joining us for this first segment. And we will be offering some other important words from Chan in the coming days. Thank you so much.
Thank you.